Pride is all about inclusion, and excluding anybody, including the police, to me is not an acceptable state of affairs on a go-forward basis. So I think they should find a way to include the police in Pride. And the most important thing to me at this juncture is that the two groups, the police and Pride, are talking to each other. They both tell me those discussions are constructive, and they've both said to me, perhaps most important of all at this juncture, that a withdrawal of city funding would not be helpful to the resolution of this issue. And so I'm saying a resolution of this issue means that we have a parade that includes everybody, and I'm willing to let them continue to have those discussions and see how they make out, because they both tell me they're constructive and I want them to achieve the right outcome.
But you're open to withdrawing funding, say, next year?
I'm not going to engage in hypothetical speculation about what would happen in future years. I'm just saying for this year, both of the parties involved in these constructive discussions, the chief of police, who I talked to this morning, and the head of Pride, who I also talked to this morning, have told me that to withdraw funding at this stage would not be helpful in their ongoing attempts to achieve a resolution to this issue, which in my view would be that we would see the police back in the Pride Parade, which is by itself a celebration of inclusion.
We are going to spend a year trying to get to a place where we figure out how the police participate next year. We absolutely hope to see their participation, but it can't happen before an ongoing dialogue with our community. And so we're going to spend a year trying to get that done, and then we will be able to speak to you sort of more emphatically about how the police participate in the Pride Toronto Parade going forward.
Olivia,
go ahead.
Today, the mayor has put out this statement saying that he supports continuing funding. How big of a victory is that for you to have his support for this grant?
Huge, huge. We appreciate the support of the city. We appreciate the support of the mayor. He has been emphatic to us behind closed doors that he supports us, and we are very pleased that he said so publicly.
But Olivia, Councillor John Campbell still plans to put forth a motion May 24th at the next full council meeting to withdraw the funding, and he says he has a fairly decent amount of support on council. So what do you say to that?
We say we have a fairly decent amount of support on council too. We say we also have the support of the community. We say we are going to be trying incredibly hard to dampen down the vitriolic nature of this conversation, to be honest with you, to make it more about the cohesion for which we all seek. And I think to that point, Councillor Campbell and Pride Toronto want absolutely the same thing.
Back in January, when this came up at the annual general meeting and this vote was taken to withdraw police from the parade, it was tough for me to get an answer on whether that was a binding vote, because you weren't in place yet. The leadership was kind of not really established yet there, and the funding issue is still kind of up in the air as well. Is this a binding vote?
Pride Toronto as an organization listened to what the community had to say to it about its contribution in Pride Toronto, both as an organization and as a parade. The organization actually agreed both in principle and wholeheartedly with the nature of the demands that were made, especially around participation in the parade. So in terms of what you saw at the AGM, what we saw there was the membership also agree with what Pride Toronto as an organization agreed with, that we needed to relook at our relationship with the community and that we needed to rebalance some things, and that's exactly what we intended to do.
If there is a dialogue going on right now with police, why can't you find an agreement in time for this year's parade?
You see, we think we have found an agreement. We think that between the police and Pride Toronto, we have agreed that the police would take a step back while we had discussions, while we sought to plan what police participation looks like next year. And that's exactly what we're doing. So in fact, what we think is that we have come to a complete and utter agreement about how we move forward.
This could have gone sideways a lot of times, but it didn't. Are you encouraged by the fact that through some pretty hot issues, some resolution was found fairly quickly, and that this can be a real opportunity for growth?
Absolutely. And in fact, what this goes to show you is that Toronto as a community backs and supports this parade. So through all of the conversation, we are still here, and we continue to completely experience the full support of the community in Toronto, for whom we thank. We also experience the support of the City of Toronto and the Toronto Police Service. This organization feels incredibly lucky to be in a place where it has established roots long enough so that organizations can continue to feel like they can support it, and we will ensure that we deliver a festival this year.
What do you say to those people who say, now that you're threatened with your funding being pulled, you're sort of backed off a bit and said, okay, well, we are going to allow police, but what do you say to those people? Are you sacrificing your own stand and your own principles just to get the money?
We don't think so. Pride Toronto's been here before. This is not the first defunding conversation that the city has had about Pride Toronto and positions we've taken on social issues. We don't believe this is going to be the last. But what we say is this is the position we have always taken. We have never banned police as individuals. We are, on the other hand, talking to the service about how they deliver a service to some of the communities that spoke to us, and that's exactly what we intend to do.
Do you feel comfortable and confident that Black Lives Matter Toronto and that leadership and hierarchy is okay with things the way they stand today?
I don't know what they think, and I don't know what they feel. What we do know is that they put a series of demands to us. We became introspective. We decided that, in fact, we would look at our organization in relation to those demands, and we've done the best that we can. In terms of Black Lives Matter itself, as an organization, we don't have any real ties with them, and neither did they with us.
Do you have any communication day to day or week to week with them, though, about what's happening today? Are you going to talk tomorrow?
No, we don't.
So that's no guarantee that they couldn't disrupt the parade again and have new demands.
We don't consider it a disruption. There is no guarantee that any organization will use Pride Toronto as an opportunity to talk about what it thinks and feels about living in this city. This is what's always happened in the past, and we have every assurance that it'll happen again.
In your discussions with the police, are you also pushing them to change some of the ways that they police in order for greater participation to happen? For instance, greater cooperation with the SIU?
What we are pushing the police to do is have more intense conversations with the community that spoke to them last year.